So in the garage today we have got a 1.2 TSI VW Beetle. It's on a 2013 plate, so it's now about 12 years old. It's just coming up to about 60,000 miles and the water pump has failed. So our job today is to replace that water pump. So let's take a look at what is involved. So for access underneath, we're going to be moving this metal plate, or the metal belly pan. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 8 M10 multi-spliers underneath. Some at the front, some at the back and the sides. Should be fairly easy. There we go. There we go. So we'll take all them out and then we'll take a look at the top of the engine. Fortunately, this little bracket, you can just about see that bolt that's undone, is keeping the pulley in, so I can't get it off. I think this bracket, once I've taken it off, I will leave it off, but I think that's for them to lower the engine in at the factory. It just looks like a lifting hook. So I'm going to take that one off and hopefully gain some access. So we managed to remove the, what I would call the engine lifting bracket. Once that's out of the way, then I've got a little bit better access. What I have done is I've taken off the pipe from the reservoir bottle, and that's going to give me better access to the top. So we've got a bolt there, we've got one underneath and we've got one at the back. Now the one at the back is just behind that pipe, that vacuum pipe. I can just about feel it down there, so that's what I'm going to be attacking first. So I'll try and get that one off first. So as you can see, it is dripping quite badly. Took a while to find out where it was coming from, but basically the water pump is just there. You can probably just see where it's located. So it's that piece there, when that pulley. So obviously the first thing we need to look at is where the routing of the belts is, before we take the tensioner off, and then we'll look at getting the pump off and the replacement fitted. So this is the drawing that I've just done regarding where things are and the route of the belt. I'm not sure at the moment whether or not we undo the 3 Torx bolts that are on the water pump and slack them off, take them off to give us better clearance, or whether or not to just take the tensioner off and hope that I can get the bolts out on the water pump. The problem is I can't get to all the bolts on the water pump to take it off because the pulley's in the way. So removing the pulley seems to be one option. That's how I did it this time. Left the tension on the belt, freed off the bolts, took the tension off the belt, and then the pulley basically, once it's undone, simply fell off. So we'll put that on. So hopefully now this will give you a better idea of where the screws are. I'm just trying to get down there. So we've got one that's sticking out there, we've got one underneath that you can't see, and we've got one there. So removing them 3 should free off the pump. Obviously we're going to lose a bit of water. The only problem I've got at the moment is the vacuum pipe doesn't want to come off. I'm hoping that once the pump's out of the way I can twist that off without snapping it, because it does go quite a long way. Don't want to resort to cutting it off, because obviously we've got to think about a replacement, but we'll try and get that off best we can. So we're just taking the last bolt out there. We're hoping now that the pump, yep, there we go, the pump is out. As you can see, it's quite difficult to get out in one piece, but that's our pump. It's the same one as we've got for our replacement. And what I've found is there's quite a lot of play in the bearing. Obviously we've got the gasket, that's probably still on the engine, but I don't know if you can see that or not, but we've got quite a bit of play in that. I mean, it still turns, but we've got a leak around the seal, I think. Not sure whether or not that's the blowhole, but you can see I've had to disconnect that from the solenoid. So the solenoid is here, and it's basically just one pipe going back on there. We'll put that back on when we come to change it. So for now, just going to get that off. Might have to replace it, I'm not sure yet, but we've certainly got, it's not free running, but we've certainly got some play in that pump. So in the box we get the seal. Looks like it's pre-formed, so hopefully that will go on quite easily. At least it's partly shaped. I might have to glue that in yet, I don't know. Looks to be flat on one side and rounded on the other. So I'm trying to put the flat bit into the groove. So we've got that hopefully in. Obviously we need to keep that in position before we put the pump back on. Otherwise if it does come out and it gets twisted, we'll probably damage it. There's a slight bit of squash on it already, but I don't think that's going to have too much of an effect on it. Stays in that groove, so we get a good seal on the engine. No, it's just coming out. So we might resort to putting a small amount of glue on there just to hold it in place while we get it into the car. So what we've done is we've resorted to a small amount of adhesive around the edge, put the seal in. Going to give it 15-20 minutes to actually glue in, for the glue to go off. We made sure we've got none on the outside, and then we're going to try to get that back in. And one thing, so you can see now we've got the pump back on. You can clearly see that top bolt. There's just another one just there, and the one underneath. So the top ones I've been able to get to from the top, and the bottom one I've got from underneath. So what we're going to do now is just replace the pulley that goes on there, and then we'll be putting the belt back in and tensioning that up. We're using a 15mm spanner on the tensioner, and it's locked off at the moment, so we've got a little bit of less tension on it, so we're hoping that that will go on without having to tension it up or pre-tension it up anymore. So we'll put on that. So we've almost finished. We took the pipe off there and disconnected one there off the cross piece, so that's the only two I took off. And then down here we've got that what looks like an electrical solenoid for that small pipe that goes down to the pipe on the top of the pump. And apart from that we didn't dislodge or move anything. So minimum amount of work to put it back together. So we've just got the pipe to go back on that one, plug that in, reposition that back where it came from, so it came off that tang there, and then ready for refilling. So just to let you know the tools that we've used a really small ratchet, a 10mm with the multi-spline on the end, and a 16mm spanner. So not a lot of equipment needed for this job. A lot of it is just knowing what to do and what to use. So we've just topped it up with antifreeze and water. May need a little bit more antifreeze because you can't see much colour in that. And then the last thing to put on is the belly pan. This is quite an high strength item. It's quite a big press in that. I think they fitted this because you've taken the roof off the beetle and they need to put the strength back in somewhere. So we've had it running, we haven't had any leaks, so I think that's the job done. So obviously if you like what you see, give us that thumbs up please. That will be appreciated. But that's another job ticked off the list on the Beetle.